ladies and gentlemen. This is John Seville for your Acorn Wealth Corp executive summary for stock setup for Monday, and we'll have a quick look. Of course, open range is now set, and we are right in that realm of resistance, right underneath that trend line still. But obviously, we've set a tight range of a high of 2052 and a low of 2041. So now we're looking for the break in either direction of 3 points or more to close high or above or below. So time will now tell. So we'll keep it fairly brief in terms of anything new. A lot of what I've been looking at has already been said. I will, however, touch on a couple of stocks we've been following that look quite exciting. TNXP, still waiting for that to kind of break through resistance as per the stock report, but this is shaping up to be a beautiful potential fallen angel if it's able to cross through. I think $2.53 is what we're looking for, but even if it crosses through here, that 20-day moving average should start to give it some lift. So keep your eyes peeled for that one, as that could be a soon-to-be big mover. One of my probably top two favorite longs at the moment is SWM, again, which had great institutional buying. We talked about that last week for Thursday's executive summary, and that triggered its entry criteria on Friday. So this is looking really good, and again, just the shape of it, the fact that the money flow is now strongly broken through zero. And again, I mentioned this is an optionable stock. If you wanted to play the stock side of things, I was looking at the option side of things. I was looking at the options tonight. I'd probably be looking at the June $30 calls, which are currently $2.40. But it's not a very heavily option, not a lot of open interest, but the spread isn't too bad. But again, it's not something that's very liquid. It's not something you can get out of easily at the price you want if things go the wrong way. So obviously be aware of that. But if you did want to look at the options, I'd be looking at the $30 June calls. Again, or just simply the stock play that we've detailed already in the last week's executive summary and stock report. SRPT, again, I'll mention this one again. Obviously, this has been something that we bought calls on this all the way back when it first broke through these moving averages. And I mentioned getting out of those March calls and cycling into some June calls. Now, the stock obviously had a good big surge on Thursday, 17%, and then another 5.7% on Friday. So on Friday, I got out of my March calls, and I'm looking now on Monday to pick up some June $17 calls, which are currently priced at $7. Now, just to have a quick look at what's been going on, have a quick look at the insiders. So last week, on the 16th, we actually had more, or actually the 14th to the 16th, even more insider activity with several $1 million bought from the directors, and if you have a look at the institutionals, we'll go in there, and you actually see that we've also had that kind of institutional buying back in February. But again, massive big lump sum buy that's been happening, which is the largest block of buying you can see in the last 12 months, all occurring here just in the last couple of months. So nothing bought in the last 12 months except last week. So that's obviously very notable. I believe they have an FDA hearing coming up in April. I think about 26% of the stock is being shorted right now. So SRPT, definitely high on my favorites list, and again, looking at the June $17 calls on that. Some other notable mentions. NMBL. This one could be about to have a move, and I do actually hold some calls in this. And I'm holding the May $7.50 calls, which are currently priced at about 85 cents. And this could actually have quite a nice move and possibly fill the gap up to this level here, which you can see would take us all the way to about $11.30. So good upside potential either as a stock play or an option play, but I am holding the options on this one. And the first test point that I'll be mostly looking for, of course, is where we come up to test this $10 level. If it's able to get up there, that's where it's going to hit this shelf of support and probably the overhead moving average. So, but again, that is it's a $2.30 move, almost on a $7.78 stock. So we're looking at a 30% move before it even runs into any real big problem there. Obviously closing above the 50-day moving average, the 20, the 9, everything's kind of underneath it for support. So NMBL could be a potentially interesting play there. And one of the other ones also that we've already mentioned that I hold stock in is VTL. We mentioned that last week, Wednesday, on Tuesday, March 8th, actually. We're looking for a pullback and then a rally up towards this kind of overhead resistance up here. Now, I have an open position in this. I picked some up, as I mentioned the other week, and I've got a stop loss set here at $8.03, and I have a target of $14.93. But obviously, I'm going to be gauging this as we go along. But the first point of resistance is going to be when we come up and test this kind of level of resistance up here. As you can see, we've got a cluster of moving averages coming down that currently sits at about $10.50. So again, about a 15% move roughly, or 13% move roughly till we get up there. But the potential for this, given the strong money flow accumulation, could be more. So this is one of my smaller speculative positions. So keep an eye on that one. Again, my stop is at 803. My longer term potential target at 14.93, and so obviously we'll gauge that as that goes along. So in terms of any kind of new things on our radar, there's one new one that I wanted to mention is TOO, TK Offshore Partners, and this could be a great level buying area of $6 or above if it pulls back. If we see weakness in it in the market tomorrow morning, it could pull back as much as $5.75. So I'd be looking kind of for that $5.75 area if it pulls back, or up to $6 and above. So kind of looking to see where it pulls back to in the early morning. But if it doesn't pull back, $6 or above would be fine for me. And I'd be looking at this as a possible bump and run formation. So there's that previous channel that it came down out of. And so I would look for a possible immediate rally from 623 up to resistance here at 864. So we've got so let's say 853 gives us a $2.30 potential reward, which is great. That's a 30% potential return before we run into resistance. And then a secondary target could be all the way up here to around $12. So that's a almost 100% potential return on TOO. So this is why this kind of came across my trading scans today, and thought it was worth mentioning. Had a big volume move. Kind of went from 510,000 to 5.76 million to 1.9 million pullback, then 2.5 million rally, 2.96 million rally, 9.35 million on Friday on this kind of consolidation. So again, look at this as a possible flag play. And again, in terms of getting that entry point, it's going to be one of those matters as to whether it just keeps rallying or whether we see the pullback or not. Obviously, you can see that it's been consolidating with respect to the 20-hour moving average, and the directional movement's telling us yes. So it's just going to be a bit of a intraday kind of look here to see whether it's going to pull back or whether it just completely breaks through. But that's where the support kind of sits right now. And let's have a look at that shelf here. So as you can see, we've got some support coming up from the moving average as well as the high of this candle. So the pullback, if it's going to respect that secondary moving average, may be around that 540 area. So that's what you should be looking for tomorrow. On the short side, if this market does roll over, Chipotle Mexican Grill, obviously one of the ones we'd highlighted as a long before, has been moving really poorly, and could be continuing to break down. So there's the Chipotle Mexican Grill story. So you can see that upward channel. We looked at the 450 calls on this, and we mentioned that this was looking toppy and that we would exit this a couple of weeks ago, and it's just completely crumbled from now. So we can look at a measurement of that channel, and so to me that looks like it's going to be breaking down to about 410. So I would look at the June 450 puts or May 450 puts on this one, and I would be looking at that area right there as a target, which is 410. So that would basically give us about a $40 drop, and again I would be looking at the 450 May or June puts on Chipotle. So there is a short, there's a long, and of course an update of some of the other longs that we're following along with quite closely. Hope it helps, and happy trading. Take care.